Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar. We'll get started now. So we'll be talking today about the benefits of Autodesk BIM 360 design products. So let's get started. And as always with our webinars, we'll have a recording of this available to everyone. Give us a couple of days just to get it edited and get it all tidied up. We will present the full session, less the Q&A. So moving on, just before we do get kicked off fully, for those who are unfamiliar, Excitec have been serving the AEC industry for over 30 years, and as an Autodesk Platinum partner, we've been supporting our customers not just with their software, but with IT, consultancy, document management, training, consultancy, and facilities management. And with a lot of our presentations and indeed in our website, you may note some animal imagery. This represents our brand ethos in the close relationships we hold with our customers. I've been Billy Sherrod. I'm the Autodesk Product Manager with Excitec. So with that, I will hand over to my colleague Jonathan, who will be running the remainder of the presentation. Thanks for joining. And with that, Jonathan, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Billy. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar on BIM 360 design. Just a quick run through the agenda. We'll start with just a quick overview of what the platform is, where it is, where it's going. We'll jump into the project setup, how to actually begin your project in BIM 360 design. Actually setting up the whole BIM 360 portal was covered in our webinar from last week, so I'll just be looking at adding in a new project. And then we'll look at internal collaboration, comparison about how this compares to our current practices. We'll look at external collaboration and some of the improvements actually that this offering brings with it over our current workflows. And we'll have some closing comments, just a summing up of what we've seen. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. You'll find the Q&A section, I think, on the right-hand side. You just type in your questions there, and we'll try and run through as many of those as we can at the end of the session. So BIM 360 as a platform sits throughout the entire life cycle of the industry, through from concept, design, documentation, quantification, all the way through to commissioning. The current situation, this is sort of part of it is current, part of it is already been taken over by the new products. But essentially these are what we've had up until now, from the collaboration for Revit, C4R, which still runs up to everything prior to the 2018.3 builds of Revit, and all the various other offerings that have been in the market for a number of years. The difference between what this presents at the moment and what we have moving forwards is really represented by this slide, where we start with the very base Autodesk Forge. This is the platform that everything has been built upon. So the BIM 360 design, the pre-construction, all the way through, these are all built on a single platform. They all share the same project data, which is the next layer up. And this is different from where it has been in the past, where a lot of these systems were separate systems, and they were set up independently of one another. What we have now is a completely unified platform sitting on top of Autodesk Forge, and we have analytics in there as well, so that we can essentially get dashboards about how projects are working, issue management, clash coordination. Within that offering, or sitting on top of that offering, are four main areas. So we have design, which is what we'll be talking about today. We have document management side, we have field execution, and then handover and operations. what that gives us really is, first and foremost, a single source of information. So everything that we enter into the early stage design through BIM 360 design, all of that carries on and is accessible as we move into field and handover. We're not left with separate silos of information. That gives us a lot of interoperability between all of that data, between all of the people working within our projects. Forge allows additional features to be added from third parties. If you look at the Exchange store, the Autodesk Exchange store, you'll see already quite a remarkable number of components that can be added into this particular offering. Being cloud-based, of course, means that we can access it from anywhere. Web browser, we can access directly through our design applications, through Revit. We can access from mobile devices, tablets. This is both iOS and Android now. Single place, as I said, to control all of our projects. No moving from one platform to another as we move through various stages in the project. And that really just optimizes all of the workflows. It saves those slumps as we try and change from one system to another. So we've been running some webinars on these. We did one last week, which was on BIM 360 Docs. BIM 360 Design is what we're going to be looking at today. This is for our Revit collaboration, internally and externally. 13th of September, we'll be doing one on BIM 360 Glue. So that moves into the construction phases and pre-construction phases, and then build on the 24th of September. That takes us all the way through construction into handover. So essentially, BIM 360 design is about work sharing within our organization and externally, cloud work sharing, so that the data doesn't sit on our own servers in-house, it sits on Autodesk servers. It gives us control over access to those models, both internally and externally. It's a much more open system that we can manage easily ourselves. We can track changes. This is actually quite a big change between collaboration for Revit and BIM 360 design. In collaboration for Revit, essentially as we shared models, those are immediately available for other people, and they impact on those if they have them linked into their Revit models. BIM 360 design brings into it an idea of deliverable packages. So internally we can communicate essentially in real time. For external collaboration, we can monitor and we can determine at what point do we publish these and create these deliverable packages, which is really quite a big change and makes things much easier. And also, because everything sits in the cloud, all of our models go up to the cloud. We can use all the visualization tools within the BIM 360 platform. We'll see a little bit of that moving on. And that means that we can actually see changes between these various packages as we put them up. So as I said, we'll start with the project setup and we'll roll into internal collaboration. Essentially, we create a new project, we add our project members into that, we assign particular roles to those, determine what aspects of the project they will have access to. It may be that some people have access to the internal collaboration, but they don't have access to, for example, publish externally, and we can control that very easily. There'll be certain admins that will take care of that. In order to set up the collaboration, both internally and externally, we create our teams. and we assign members to those teams and certain access levels. So if we start, we can see in the account admin, we've got a list of projects that are already existing at the moment, perhaps that we're working on. We simply start by adding in a new project. Now this is a video that I captured earlier. You can see it speeds up a little bit, just makes things a little bit smoother as we work through this. So we fill in some basic information and we save that. And the first thing that we have to do is to determine which of the modules we are going to activate. You'll see that there are a number of modules in here. This will depend on your current subscription. So you can see I'm adding in an administrator for document management. We need that. That's the storage part of BIM 360 Design. So we get that as part of the subscription. That's physically where all the files are stored. Design collaboration is the extra module that allows us control over this exchange of packages and monitoring of those changes. And also, as you'll see, allows us to mark up as well. We can add in our project members, give certain access, and then we move into setting up our teams. So the first step is to create some top-level folders for those. It's quite a simple structure. We're going to be working in the project files section. There are two main sections in here. There are plans and there are project files. Plans are more for sort of published construction documents, if you like. Project files are our model repository, if you like, and our sharing area. So I'll just go and create these folders very quickly. I'll just create an architecture, MEP, and structure. And we can see that we can very easily control permissions through each of these folders. There's a simple slider bar. You can see on the right-hand side, we can go from view only to view and upload, view edit and control. It's a very, very intuitive way of working with it. You can see that we just set that up. We don't need particular IT experience in order to be able to go and manage this successfully. So once we've set the folders, we can then go into our project admin. You'll see our 9 dots at the top left. Those show all of the different modules of our project. Again, that will depend on your particular subscription. Project Home is where you get to all the analytics stuff. We'll go into Project Admin and we'll go to Design Collaboration and we'll start to build up our teams. We'll just build up 3 as a starting point. So there are no teams in there at the moment. I'll click on Add Team. Now at this point I can type in just a name of a team, which is fine. But having set up the folders already, I can use those to determine my team. So I'm going to click on here, and we just navigate through and essentially just pick each of these folders in turn. So that creates the architecture team. We'll go through again and create the MEP team and the structure team. Having created the teams, we can then manage the team members. At this point, we have the option of view plus edit, view plus edit plus share. So again, we can determine, I think I noted about how we can allow access for internal collaboration, but perhaps only a few people have the option to share this via the design collaboration. And we just set those permissions up, adding in anyone that we need to from that list of project members. We can make changes to any of those at any point in time. If we need to adjust the permission, just add this extra level that's required or restrict it back to just a view only. And we just close that off and we are set up. We are ready to go. It's really very straightforward. It doesn't take a huge amount of time. We can set this up, and we're ready to start working. When we start thinking about our projects and our collaboration, we are doing almost exactly the same workflow as we do at the moment. If I just start playing this, you'll see that the first thing we do is with one additional step, and that's our publish settings. So from within Revit, we now have the ability to add in particular sets for coordination. We might have one for tender, for planning, for coordination, for collaboration, as we've set up here. We can add any view or any sheet within this Revit model into that set. Those sets can then be included. You can see a little tick in the top right section of that. We just put a tick in that little checkbox to include those when we publish. The publish is what happens when we decide to collaborate essentially externally. So we're setting that up at the moment. To start the model, we go into our collaborate button as we would normally do. Instead of clicking on collaborate in our own local area, we collaborate via document management. We go and select the particular project and go into our team folder, and we click initiate. Pretty much exactly the same as we do at the moment, just with that one additional step of adding in the sets. This pushes the model up to the cloud, creates a cached copy for us. If we go and have a look into BIM 360, we'll see that we have our first model in there already. We've just uploaded that. So keeping on the internal theme, if we go to the furniture plan, you can see in the publish settings that I've left that blank. Now I'm going to start collaborating again with this. I'm going to select BIM 360 document management. By leaving the publish settings blank, what that means is that the only view that will be shared essentially from here is the default 3D view. So we don't plan to share any drawings or sheets or anything else, just the 3D model for coordination. That uploads up to the cloud, and the models are set. As I said, it's pretty much what we would do now, but instead of selecting a location on our file servers, we're simply picking a folder within our BIM 360 project. From that point on, again, it's pretty much the same as we do at the moment in terms of linking in our different models. So if I go from the furniture model, for example, here, and I'm just going to manage links. Now, Revit knows that this is a cloud workshare enabled model. So when I click on load, I'm taken directly to that cloud area, to the project, rather than looking in the file system. And I can just select the model that I want to link in, and that adds in the normal way. Do a standard synchronize with central, start out in exactly the same way, no changes there. The dialog at this point is slightly different. You can see that we're doing a save to local. We're doing a reload from the cloud, and we're now uploading our changes to the central model. And again, we take a local save at the end of that. So switching back to the architect's model, again, internal collaboration is exactly the same as it is at the moment. We just go and add our links. Again, Revit knows that this is a BIM 360 design model. So we're taken to that project, and we select and we open. We'll get the usual Revit dialog about nested links. And we set that up, and we can see. So from this point onwards, our internal collaboration just happens as it would normally. The architect has the furniture layout referenced into his model, and likewise the furniture model has the architecture model referenced in. We simply do a normal synchronize with central, and the furniture team will pick those up. The beauty about this really is not just the fact that we don't have to relearn anything from what we've done previously, but the team working on the furniture model could quite happily be in a different office the other side of the country, or in fact in another country. The differential between this internal collaboration no longer stops at the boundaries of our particular office. It now extends throughout the entire organization. It's internal collaboration, but we're not geographically limited to where we can collaborate, which is a tremendous improvement on current work sharing between offices. So we move on to this idea of external collaboration. We'll be working with the structural engineer for this particular case. There are essentially 3 stages to this. We can see those up here. We publish our model. This is a separate action from the normal synchronize with central, and you'll see that as we get to that point. We create our package. The package can contain 3D models. It can contain particular views, drawing sheets. We choose what we want to add in those sets, and then we just communicate those to the team. We'll start with the structural model. The premise here is that the architect has already shared an initial design model with the structural engineer in order to start that design process. So the structural engineer is just going to create his or her design package and publish that ready for use by the architect. So we click on our little dots. Notice here that the structural engineer has less access. I was in as the system admin. I could go to project admin and all sorts of things in there. The structural engineer only sees a little bit. So this is the timeline. We create a new package. You'll see more of the timeline as we move through the webinar. So we create a new package and we pick a set that we have previously published. That also includes the model because that's from where it's drawn, and we save that, and then we simply share. All the permissions are set up. They'll be visible to all of the external collaborators, in our case the MEP and architect. A little bit of a note in there just so that we can see the purpose of this package. All of this is visible when we switch over to the architect. And we can see that that is now being published to the timeline, this nice timeline across the top of the screen, where we can see sets that have been published, sets that we've published. We can zoom in and zoom out between a single day, weeks, months, and see what's actually happened between those. So how do we deal with that published package? Well, first of all, we go into our design collaboration as the architect. We'll pull down our timeline so that we can see what's been published by the teams. We can also have email notifications if we subscribe to these folders as well. So here we can see there's one from the MEP guys. There's our structural package that's been shared. This is one that we ourselves shared. That was our initial package for the structural engineer. We select that from the timeline, and that shows us the number of sets and models that are within there. We can explore that within the web interface. When we're happy with what we see, we simply elect to consume that. It's kind of an odd term, I think, but we effectively consume that. We take that into our design set, and you'll see the effect of that as we move forward. So as I said, everything is stored within the document management module. As we switch back to that, we can see within our architecture file, we now have consumed and structure, and within that we can see the structural model. That's just being extracted now, all the views, and then when it's ready, we can come into our architecture model. Again, simply manage links, and we go to our project. And we just pick through into project files, into our section, our team section, into the consumed and structure, and we select that structural model. And we should see we get the usual message about nested links. Obviously, the architect, the structural engineer, has our model linked into his. And we have the structural model referenced into our architect model. Okay, so just starting this essentially with how we start to publish these models, how we create our packages. We'll go back to the architect. We'll make a small change to some internal walls, and then we'll step through the process of how we deal with those. So we're in the architect model, and we'll just pick up a couple of walls. We're just going to move those 600 mm to the right. Okay, so that takes care of the change. We do a standard synchronize with central. This will make this immediately available to the furniture team. They'll be able to see that change straight away. The structural engineer won't see this at the moment. We need to take an additional step to enable the structural engineer to see that. And the step we take is to manage our cloud models from the Collaborate tab, you can see, and we publish the latest model. It's as simple as that. We get a little indication to show that that has now been completed. We can see that's now uploading. Version 3 is currently uploading. If we take a look in the publish log, you see on the right hand side, we can see that in the background all the views sheets are being extracted from that model. Only the ones, remember, that we selected to include in our set. Sets can be created as we move through the project as well. We don't have to start with a whole bunch of sets. Okay, so we go to Design Collaboration, and we create our collaboration package from the sets that we have already published. You can see I get a little notice here to say that my team's sets have been updated to the latest model. That was the publish process. I click on the Create New Package, and I decide from my list of sets that I previously published the ones that I would like to include. So I'm going to include S1 Collaboration. The model is a part of that, so it's already automatically ticked for me. I save that package and I share. So we give the package name, a brief description. Remember that these are available in the tooltip as you hover over these in the timeline. So just a brief description in there is good. That is now shared. We don't have to do anything else. We don't have to go through that long-winded, labor-intensive exercise that we do currently of stripping out all of the views and the sheets and families and everything that we don't want to share strip those out. We may have routines that we've written, and obviously then we've got to detach it from the central. We've got to wrap it all up, and then post up to Dropbox or whatever is the portal that we use. It all just happens nice and smoothly within BIM 360 Design. It's all there. We are already set to only publish those very specific views that we have decided are required for this particular set. So the structural engineer will receive notification. The folders you can see on the left-hand side, I think if you looked at our webinar last week where we were discussing the document management in more detail, we can subscribe to these folders. So very much like the way you might subscribe to a blog feed, and you get a notification to say that something has been added to that. We can do the same here, so we can subscribe to these folders. So we'll assume that the structural engineer has subscribed to this shared location so that he can get notification of updates. Alternatively, of course, we just pick up the phone and say we've just published the latest package. He can then go and pick them up. So back as a structural engineer, he'll go into design collaboration again. He'll be able to see from his timeline, so we just expand that down. So these are the ones that he has published, or the ones that he has already consumed. So those are solid. These open circles indicate that they have not been consumed, so we can see that that's been shared. So he can see what's been shared here. We've got a model, we've got one set with some sheets. He can explore that so that he can see exactly what's been uploaded before he goes and references this into his model. So we can see within the collaboration set, we've got the 3D view, we've got ground floor, we have the show changes, which is really, really good. It's so good to be able to see this and see the changes that have been made. So these are the items that have been modified since the last package was updated, was published. And because this is a unified view of the structural engineer's model and the architect, it's clearly clear what's been changed and the effect that that's going to have on the structural model. So he can then decide to consume that. That will make that immediately available. So he just opens up his structural model, and he will have the latest architectural model already embedded in there. And we can see those changes. So he doesn't have to go and download this, put it into a separate location, and then relink to this model instead of the old model, perhaps with a different version. All the versions are managed within BIM 360 Design. We can see that this would be, I think, version 3. We can go back to version 2, version 1 of those models. It's all just seamless. So at this point, we could make the structural change required, but instead, what the engineer is going to do is to just make some notes about this, a markup that will be shared with the architect, just requesting clarification. So we just go into document management and we select that model. This is our latest architecture model. You'll see that we have markups. We can flag issues. This is something that will be coming to the design collaboration part very soon as well. This is more in document management at the moment. But we can select different views. We can go and examine what's been changed. We can see 2D views, 3D views. Again, everything that's included in that particular set that we configured when we published the model. All the controls here you will have seen if you watched our webinar last week. Steve went through all the different controls within the view. Those are exactly the same. We can mark up in 2D or 3D. We'll do the markup here in our 3D view, simply because it's available to us, and it's just an easy way of communicating our intent. So just go in and just set the view. When you set this view and you create the markup, this is the view that people will see automatically when they select that markup. So it's worthwhile just to get that view exactly as you want to see it. We click on the markup button, we start. I'll put a quick cloud around the area that I want to highlight. So we can just place that, and then we can add some text, a quick note about our concern, in this case requesting confirmation before we go and make what could be more significant changes to the structural model. So as we look at this, we can see this is a private markup at the moment, but I have the option to make this published. So I select that option. We can see the little world symbol to show that it is now a published comment, a published markup. That means that everybody can go and see it within the team. And that is flagged. We can see that. We can add attachments to this if we want to, maybe some spec sheets or anything else that we want to add to that. And that will be available to the rest of the project team. Okay, so in conclusion, what we've seen is that internal collaboration is, well, the same as local work sharing in terms of how we set it up. It's great. As I say, we don't have to learn any new processes or procedures. That all just happens. However, multi-office support is just built in. We don't need to do anything else for that. We don't need Revit server. We don't need extra hardware. We don't need to worry particularly about WAN links between one office and another. That's just all built in. Also, it's in the cloud. That at the moment, views, I checked the help file and there are 39 file types listed that we can view. Office file type support is coming soon. And we can mark up within that interface in both 2D and 3D. In terms of external collaboration, well, the headline is that we don't need to do anything else. There are no additional requirements for external collaboration. We don't open up our network to third parties. That'll make IT teams very, very happy. No having to poke holes in firewalls to allow for this external collaboration. No labor-intensive process of stripping out views and sheets from these models, breaking them apart from the central file in order to be able to send a model to another consultant, and maybe send it to 2 or 3 different consultants, possibly in different locations, one in Dropbox, one in Viewpoint for projects. It's all there. It's just built in. We just add those members into the project, and they're ready to go. They will need an Autodesk account, but chances are that they will have one already. Again, 39 different types of files that we can view within the browser. The whole system just enhances the current workflows, not least in making them easier, making them less stressful, more streamlined. But the fact that we have built into that the possibility of viewing those changes. We can clearly see what has changed from one version of a published model to another version of a published model, and that's a very powerful tool. And of course, we can mark up in 2D and 3D. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Hope it's been useful. Obviously, this will be published, so we'll end the webinar. Thank you very much.